agenda without objection. Now we'll move on to the special order 220457. This is the special order, Pulaski Street fire. And this is a special order requested by Councilperson Burns. She will lead the discussion in this. You have the floor, Councilperson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First to the family, and you had to sit through patiently through our council meeting, and I apologize for that. I read your reports, and some of them I could not. I could not. And I don't know when I'll be able to. What I'm concerned about is what happened, and are you getting the questions that you need? And the reports may have some conflicting information as opposed to the recommendation. Through you, Madam Chair, to Attorney Cups, because I know Attorney Cups, you were working on some things for me. I never got the recommendation from the fire chief's recommendation, not the fire chief, but Attorney Kim's from the legal department recommendation to the mayor in regards to the fire, regarding the firefighters.
And I don't have all the details about that, but I believe City Attorney Mr. Kim indicated that it was privileged information.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Cups. I appreciate that. Through you, Madam Chair, to Mrs. Cooper, I know you wanted to share some things, and I want you to know that you want to step to the mic so you can address.
Now, can you please state your name? Go ahead. You have the floor. Is the mic on?
Crystal Cooper.
Go ahead. You have the floor, ma'am,
All right.
if you'd like to speak.
Memorial Day weekend, my sons, Zyaire and Lamar, were killed in a house fire. Two of the firefighters that responded to the call issued an all clear, leaving the rest of the firefighters to believe that they had searched the entire house and that there was no one inside the house. As a result of the firefighters issuing an all clear, my sons were left in the fire for additional 6 minutes. Both of my sons died due to that fire. Firefighters are trained to save lives. They are trained to look for people who may have passed out from smoke inhalation or are trapped in the fire. This didn't happen with my sons. The firefighters didn't follow protocol and they lied about it. To this date, my sons have not received justice. It's been 4 months, 16 days since I last seen my children. Thursday, May 27th of 2022 was the last time I was physically able to kiss my boys and tell them good night. Friday, May 28th, my boy said to me, "Bye, Mom, love you, our dad is here. He's taking us to school." They had a half day this day. I talked to them as they were at McDonald's getting food after school. I told them I took Memorial Day off so we could go to Michigan Adventures for the holiday, and said they may as well stay home so we could leave early Monday. Saturday, I got a call off Instagram saying to get to Dre house. Living in Source Creek, I drove as fast as I could until my phone rung again saying to go to Hurley Hospital. Panicking and scared, I tried to find out what was going on. I got lost. I eventually made it to the hospital trying to figure out what was going on. I was told it was my children, and they put me in the family room to wait for a doctor to come out to talk to me. At least an hour went by before I was told anything. My youngest son, Lamar, got airlifted to Detroit Children's Hospital. I stood there crying, taking pictures. I just knew I was going to be able to show my son he was in a helicopter after he recovered from this. Zyaire, my 12-year-old, they had a difficult time getting him stable. So after working on him and getting him stable, he was drove into Detroit Children's Hospital to receive the care he needed. I stayed by my boy's side day and night, just hoping and having faith that they would overcome this. After 24 hours, my son was given 3 brain function tests showing no brain activity. In other words, he was considered brain dead. Being that my son didn't pass the test, there was nothing else the providers could do for him. He was taken off the machine. My son, 12 years old, life ended on June 1st, 2022. Lamar's still fighting. I watched my baby move, attempt to get up, and because of his safety, they put him back under sedation. 12 hours later, my son went for an MRI. The doctor told me if he overcame this, he would not be the same little boy he was before. Lamar went through the brain function test. Both tests showed no activity. There was nothing else they can do for my son. June 3rd of 2022, my 9-year-old took his last breath. Not only did I lose my children, I had to find a way to tell my 2-year-old daughter, Zyaire and Lamar, went to a better place. For 4 months, I just been waiting to see what was going on and what happened. I read the fire reports, all 70 pages. It was told that the 2 firefighters went in the room and they searched the room. The chief went behind them and said that if they would have searched the room as they stated in their report, that they would have found my kids sooner. Being that they lied on their report, my kids lost their lives. I'm still looking for answers. The firefighters, I feel like they committed a crime. For them to say they searched a house and they really didn't search a house. For them to be able to be suspended with pay. They wasn't dealt with properly. They essential worker, I'm an essential worker. And I feel like they didn't hold their end of what they signed up to do as far as being a firefighter. I can't get my kids back. Nothing to bring them back. But I don't want this to happen to nobody else. And the fact that they didn't do their job and they thought about, they lied several times. They need to be held accountable for their actions.
some of the things that she can't say, but back in June, it was about the second week after the fire, I got a phone call and they told me that Mayor Neely was trying to cover this up. So I reached out to Ms. Cooper, told Ms. Cooper back in June that they was trying to cover up, and the investigation showed that the firefighters had lied on their report. 2 weeks ago, Ms. Cooper calls me and she asked me, could I help her? And I said, okay, no problem. She said all she wanted, she said she don't care about the money. All she wanted was justice for her sons. I hadn't spoken to her since that first time. I said, do you have the investigative report? Because couldn't nobody get this report. It was hard for us to get the 911 tapes. When she went to get the report from her attorney, he tried to snatch it from her. He didn't want her to have this report. The sad part is that she was trying to meet with Prosecutor Layton, and they would not allow her to meet with Prosecutor Layton. If you're going to sue the city, you're supposed to have intent to sue in within 6 months. Ask your attorney. It's been over 4 months, and her previous attorney had not put in or not submitted intent to sue. While we met with Attorney Layton, they said that it was a detective here in the city of Flint that was investigating. So it just so happened I happened to see him at Golden Cafe, Golden Gate. I happened to see him there, and I asked him, could he reach out to Ms. Cooper? Because when we was with Attorney Layton, when he said the detective's name, over 4 months, not one time has he reached out to Ms. Cooper to tell Ms. Cooper what the investigation is about. So when he did call Ms. Cooper, they're not investigating the firefighters, but it's an investigation going on. But they're not investigating the firefighters. While I spoke to Attorney Layton, I said it's 2 crimes that was committed by the firefighters. Negligence and conspiring on a fraudulent report. If nothing else, those are misdemeanor charges, and they could have been charged with that, but they are not even being investigated. One was able to resign, and the other one only had 2 weeks suspension without pay. That's like vacation. How is it that Mayor Neely, and matter of fact, Mr. Smith is here now, in the investigative report, it stated from Chief Barton that they should be terminated because of their action could have contributed to a loss of 2 young boys' lives. If he recommended that, how is it that one is still on the job and the other one was able to resign and go work somewhere else? Why is it that these 2 firefighters was not investigated, not charged? How is that? Ms. Cooper just wants justice, but Mayor Neely said that it's a political suicide if he let out that 2 young black boys was in his house and it was 2 white firefighters that gave an all clear, and those young boys was in that house for 6 minutes. 6 minutes. It would be political suicide. They tried to keep this incident, Mayor Neely and that former lawyer, previous lawyer, tried to keep it under hush until after the election. These are facts. These are facts. Documentation, recordings, all that. These are facts. What is it that y'all can do? Hey, listen, you don't even have to interview for or hold a hearing for factual what happened in the house or whatever. But what you can hold a hearing for and subpoena and put them under oath is who conspired to cover this up, which was the mayor, vice president of the union, the sergeant, and the other firefighter. And then you can ask Mr. Smith, who overrode Chief Barton's recommendation. Matter of fact, you can ask him that tonight. Because on that memo that was sent from Chief Barton, it was Clyde Edwards, Eddie Smith, and the 2 firefighters. And at the end, it said, recommendation, termination. So if Chief Barton recommended that, who made the decision not to? Who made the decision not to? And the mayor can't say that he didn't know anything about it. He knew everything about this incident right here. The mayor is hiding the truth, and it needs to be brought out. It needs to be known. Ms. Cooper needs justice. That's what she wants. She wants justice. And people, please don't get upset. Don't think that this is political. Because if they would have took care of it back in June, it wouldn't be happening right now where she's asking questions. She just found out 2 weeks ago. And she wants justice. Do she supposed to hold back and not say anything because somebody's running for office? No, she doesn't. She wants justice. This is her sister right here.
Hello. I'm Crystal Cooper's older sister, Chantel Clemens. And I've been by my sister's side since the moment she got that phone call, May 28 at 8:39 o'clock in that morning. And our whole family has been right there, and we had to witness. We had to witness. Can you imagine witnessing? 2 kids that I watched be born have to take their last breath, have to hear her cry. So I wanted to say something. Gross negligence is an act or omission which is more than ordinary negligence, but less than willful or intentional misconduct. Gross negligence refers to a person's conduct where an act or failure to act creates an unreasonable risk of harm to another person because of the person's failure to exercise slight care or diligence. That is the definition of gross negligence. Now, my heart goes out to every civil servant, everybody that serves the public, the doctors, the nurses, the police, definitely the police, the firefighters, and everybody that comes together to serve the public to help them. So let's get that clear. We're a family full of nurses, all right? Family full of nurses, from the mother all the way down. So first, I would like to thank all civil servants that put their life on the line, that took an oath and uphold the oath to do their job completely. Now, imagine you go to the hospital and a doctor or a nurse decides to cut corners based on your zip code or the way you're dressed. And then when they realize they messed up, the whole hospital uphold their mistake. Everybody in on it, on their mistake, on their failure. They completely disregard how you are affected and do whatever to protect their reputation. That's what's happening to us. Y'all can read it. Y'all know what's going on. The paperwork everybody is able to get, it's clear. It's common sense clear. Our family, a family full of civil servants, are grieving the loss of our precious babies, my sister's boys. All because someone decided that when they woke up that morning that they was gonna cut a corner. They wasn't gonna follow the rules. And this city, a city full of people that look like me, that look like most of us on this up there, we just gotta sit back and deal with it. Ain't no answers. We gotta wait till somebody decide when they gonna tell my sister what actually happened. Or we gotta wait to decide when they're gonna actually hold somebody accountable for their actions that they was dead wrong at, that took lives, a job they signed up for. Nobody asked to be in the fire, but they signed up to be police officers. We all signed up, y'all signed up to be city council members. So y'all asked to be here just like they asked to be here. So we got an oath to hold on to. We have a job, duties, policies, and procedures that we are supposed to follow, correct? Okay. That they wasn't gonna follow the rules. In this city, a city that looked like me and most of you have to deal with it. No apologies, not that it would have meant anything. No accountability, no one standing up for what is right. And that is to hold the firefighters accountable for gross negligence. Hold them accountable for making a decision to not do their job, to not follow the rules based on their own implicit biases, or basically a just complete disregard of life. If you have any empathy or sympathy or just human nature, please hold these firefighters accountable. Please hold the city and Mayor Neely responsible for the complete disregard of life. Justice for Zyaire and Lamar. Justice for the Mitchell boys. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jasmine.
State your name, please.
I'm Jasmine Cooper. I'm Crystal's little sister. I just want to say that when everything happened, the firefighter that did save our sons, like our kids, they wrote me on Facebook, and they are the ones that reached out to us. You're not supposed to. Well, they didn't get any recognition. The black firefighters that got the boys out, they didn't get any type of recognition, no thank you, nothing. But the white officers, everything was like, they did not cut the power. They didn't do anything that they said they did. I'm sorry. I'm just going to be quiet before. I'm just mad. My nephews could have been alive still if they would have did their job.
And plus the fire department is not even 200 feet away from the house that was on fire. You can throw a football and hit the front porch.
Yeah, Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilman Mays.
if Councilperson Burns put this special order on there, that happened on the corner of Pulaski near DuPont. I was standing out there that day. I was at the store, standing, looking. I even communicated with some of the first responders, and I could tell it was a problem. I've been watching this, and I've been listening. What I heard was this. I heard that a couple firefighters or so had went in. They didn't report nobody was in there. They issued the all clear, and what we're hearing here, come to find out, it was 2 children in there. I do hear and have heard that there's an issue with white and black as it relates to the different firefighters. I do understand clearly that if and when you file litigation, hopefully some judge will allow things to happen in its proper course. I don't have confidence in certain judges in this county. I don't have confidence in certain prosecutors, but the business I'm concerned about, Ms. Cooper, is folks trying to cover stuff up in order to try to hold on in an election. That's an immediate problem for me. And I don't want to have to deal with those type of alleged cover-ups for 4 more years. I don't want to have to deal with council people who condone that. That's why I don't mind letting it be heard publicly. We don't need to talk about this stuff behind the scenes. When you're dealing with not only children, but grown folks, we deserve a quality public safety situation. Police, fire, our children, and we are real. You did a fine job talking about the disparities in our community and how folk is treated. I said earlier, and I alluded to the cultural center, and Ms. Herkenroder was laughing, but I know for a fact folks is treated differently. Ms. Cooper, and to the family, my condolences go out. And I'm gonna try to do everything I can in conjunction with lawyers, courts, prosecutors. If you look all across this nation, all across the nation, from George Floyd to similar cases, police, I don't want people to think that ain't happening in Flint. It's happening as far as I'm concerned with your case. It's happening with Ms. Davis' son in that case. And folks, in my opinion, is covering it up because of politics. Politics can be a dangerous game, and it ain't nothing to play with when you're dealing with lives. Let me say this. Anybody who listening and looking, we took time to deal with this because it's important. We need to fix stuff, not just in the police department, not just in the fire department, but in the political department. I can't stand somebody telling half-truths and lies. I can't stand a mayor who would issue to chiefs of fire and chiefs of police to cover up and not get to the bottom of it because he trying to win an election. Ms. Cooper, the family, y'all cannot, one way or another, have the mayor of this city of Flint paid attention to y'all. So I see some no's. That's problematic. Well, you didn't come to a co-equal branch of government, and I'm sure you'll take care of the business. I know the lawyer's name, if I'm mistaken, and can call it, who told or maybe asked you to wait till after the election. Want me to say some initials, LF? Believe me, I'll be knowing what's happening in the city. I stood out there that day, Pulaski and my ward, sad, talked to some first responders and figured out what was going on. Y'all didn't know it, but I was there. When you hear me say them initials in the politics, I know all the players in the city of Flint, and it's not to be tolerated that folks is trying to help somebody get elected along with council people, and we're gonna tell it and we're gonna shout it out from the rooftops. Madam Chair, let's fix Flint. Let's tell the story. Ma'am, you ought to be a lawyer because you did an excellent job on some of those terms, and it is what it is. I wish I was the judge, the prosecutor,
Madam Chair,
and the chief. God bless y'all. Ms. Cooper, call me, family, anytime I can help. I can't do it all, but I sure can do what I can to help. God bless you.
Thank you, Councilman Mays.
Once again, my heartfelt condolences.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Pfeiffer, you have the floor.
My question is to Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, can you come up? Mr. Smith? Yes.
Hey, lucky I'm just saying initials today. I know what's going on.
Mr. Smith, are any of the two firefighters that are a topic of conversation still employees with the city of Flint?
Just one.
And if Chief Barton's recommendation was to terminate said firefighters, Who overrid that? Who determined that his opinion was invalid? Are you able to answer that?
Well, it's a kind of difficult one. First of all, the chief incidentally is on his way back here, so
Okay.
maybe we have a moment to, ask him that question. But after the investigation, the process is we review it and we take the recommendation of whomever's doing the investigation and the chief.
So why didn't we do that at this point, if he's still working for us? If we didn't take the recommendation after the investigation, why did that not?
Well, I think that's a question for the chief. It truly is.
Point of information.
Sure.
You know, Mr. Pfeiffer, it's only one person hired in the chief. That was Mr. Neely. He was involved in it.
So the chief recanted and changed his position? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying I'm not aware of a decision being made. When HR got involved, a decision was made. And so that's...
So the decision was already made before it came back to HR, or for intents and purposes, you had no opinion on that?
No, it came back for a review. And being not an expert in the science of firefighting and all of the things that went on site, we had to take the word and the advice of the chief and the people he selected to do the investigation. So HR's, at that point, a review to make sure that the process was followed and that information was received, and that's the role of HR at that point.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Madam
Sure.
Chair.
Yes, Councilwoman Burns.
Okay, so, Mr. Smith, and this has probably put you in a horrible predicament, but when the chief, and I read the majority of those reports, stated his record, because they didn't follow their training. They're trained to do a job. He was very specific with his recommendation to terminate both of them. It didn't say send them on holiday. He said to terminate them. That was he's a department head. You're a department head. Where did that come from? Because there has to be correspondence. And maybe, and I've got a little time now to finish reading my email, but hold on, to you, Madam Chair, Attorney Cups, I want the copy of the recommendation from Attorney Kim. He is a public servant. The mayor is a public servant. Attorney Kim is a public servant, and I want his recommendation. Because we're not getting transparency here. Somebody sent it up to let them know, hey, we don't want this done. And I don't think, Mr. Smith, from your character, and I know you that it was you, it's not even at your level.
Yeah.
And I respect you for what you do, but I want, Mr. Attorney Cups, I want a copy as I requested before, because Mayor Neely did not retain Attorney Kim as his personal attorney. If he wanted a personal attorney, he should have got one. Attorney Kim is a civil.
That paid attention to y'all. So I see some no's. That's problematic. Well, you didn't come to a co-equal branch of government, and I'm sure you'll take care of the business. I know the lawyer's name, if I'm mistaken, and can call it, who told or maybe asked you to wait till after the election. Want me to say some initials, LF? Believe me, I'll be knowing what's happening in the city. I stood out there that day, Pulaski and my ward, sad, talked to some first responders and figured out what was going on. Y'all didn't know it, but I was there. When you hear me say them initials in the politics, I know all the players in the city of Flint, and it's not to be tolerated that folks is trying to help somebody get elected along with council people, and we're going to tell it and we're going to shout it out from the rooftops. Madam Chair, let's fix Flint. Let's tell the story. Ma'am, you ought to be a lawyer because you did an excellent job on some of those terms, and it is what it is. I wish I was the judge, the prosecutor,
Madam Chair.
and the chief. God bless y'all. Ms. Cooper, call me, family, anytime I can help. I can't do it all, but I sure can do what I can to help. God bless you.
Thank you, Councilman Mays.
Once again, my heartfelt condolences.
Madam Chair,
Thank you. Councilman Pfeiffer, you have the floor.
my question is to Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, can you come up? Mr. Smith? Yes.
Hey, lucky I'm just saying initials today. I know what the
Mr. Smith, are any of the two firefighters that are a topic of conversation still employees with the city of Flint?
Just one.
And if Chief Barton's recommendation was to terminate said firefighters, who overrid that? Who determined that his opinion was invalid? Are you able to answer that?
Well, it's a kind of difficult one. First of all, the chief, incidentally, is on his way back here, so
Okay.
maybe we have a moment to, ask him that question. But after the investigation, the process is we review it and we take the recommendation of whomever's doing the investigation and the chief.
So why didn't we do that at this point, if he's still working for us? If we didn't take the recommendation after the investigation, why did that not?
Well, I think that's a question for the chief. It truly is.
Point of information.
Sure.
You know, Mr. Piper, it's only one person hired in the chief. That was Mr. Neely. He was involved in it.
So the chief recanted and changed his position? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying I'm not aware of a decision being made. When HR got involved, a decision was made. And so that's...
So the decision was already made before it came back to HR, or for intensive purposes, you had no opinion on that?
No, it came back for a review. And being not an expert in the science of firefighting and all of the things that went on site, we had to take the word and the advice of the chief and the people he selected to do the investigation. So HR's, at that point, a review to make sure that the process was followed and that information was received, and that's the role of HR at that point.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilwoman Burns.
Okay, so, Mr. Smith, and this has probably put you in a horrible predicament, but when the chief, and I read the majority of those reports, stated his record because they didn't follow their training. They're trained to do a job. He was very specific with his recommendation to terminate both of them. It didn't say send them on holiday. He said to terminate them. That was he's a department head. You're a department head. Where did that come from? Because there has to be correspondence. And maybe, and I've got a little time now to finish reading my email, but hold on to you, Madam Chair, Attorney Cups, I want the copy of the recommendation from Attorney Kim. He is a public servant. The mayor is a public servant. Attorney Kim is a public servant, and I want his recommendation. Because we're not getting transparency here. Somebody sent it up to let them know, hey, we don't want this done. And I don't think, Mr. Smith, from your character, and I know you that it was you, it's not even at your level.
No.
And I respect you for what you do, but I want, Mr. Attorney Cups, I want a copy as I requested before, because Mayor Neely did not retain Attorney Kim as his personal attorney. If he wanted a personal attorney, he should have got one. Attorney Kim is a city attorney. So when we talk about being overruled, this broke our own policy. The policy, the chief, if he goes into a fire, and on his reports he's stating that they didn't follow protocol, they didn't follow their firefighter training 1, 2, and 3, the apparatus training, they didn't follow it. He wouldn't want nobody going in behind him, and he the fire chief. that. So when we talk about that, and they sent you up here to handle, I'm sorry they put you in this position.
No.
I am, because they were unfair and unjust to you. But I can tell you this, I done did enough studying about the fire department because I understand it. The all clear was not an all clear. The dogs is what I'm hearing were on a different level. The children in the bed. You go in the house, the all clear is level 1, 2, 3, the basement. If your apparatuses fail, they know how to use them without it because they're trained to do that. They didn't use any of their training, and then they didn't reach out to the family. Time after, I don't care about an election because she got to bury her. She buried her children. And they sit up here hiding behind stuff. And then furthermore, on top of that, what they did, Mayor Neely sent his people after her family on social media because they didn't have working smoke detectors. How dare they? To get ahead of the story. And he didn't reach out to that family. I'm tired of the mess with him. Stop politicking, politricking. Do what's right. And if they had done it, then we wouldn't be here now. It's wrong on every way. This stuff, and I know because, and I know how it works. I was married to the fireman. He reached out to me and told me they should have been fired. He's retired 30 years of service and said they should have been fired. I'm not guesstimating. I was married to that man. I know when you pull a child out of a fire, the firefighters who care not the same. I ain't never seen a firefighter go off and they trying to save their jobs. Firefighters who have pulled kids out of fires, they suffer that PTSD for the rest of their lives. This didn't happen here. Come to Flint, do what you want. Do what you want. We're not following our own policy procedure. The training that they're put through, it's not being followed. And this is a problem in the city. It's a problem, and it's showing up a problem after department after department after department, and it's coming to you through department heads. It's coming to you, and it's resting on your shoulders because they're using you as a scapegoat. They send a complaint in about me, Pfeiffer, Mays, because we ask questions. I'm going to keep asking questions. The 6 Ward residents put me in this, and I'm not going to stop. I want that report with the recommendation from Attorney Kim gave to Mayor Neely, and I want to know who stopped and said, hey, don't terminate them. Put them off with pay. I never heard 2 children
Point of
die.
information. You want me to tell
What's
you
your
who
point?
gave that order? Mr. Neely. Ain't but one person can do it.
I'm going to tell you this to the family. I'm sorry that even on social media that they further used you and said smoke detectors. Because a lot of people don't have smoke detectors. To say the family should have did more to get ahead of the story. When you want to win a race by any means, that's just wrong. That's wrong. And
They was at their dad's house. Their house is at Source Creek. I have some of them
at your own.
at my house. They was visiting with him. So
This, when we, thank you, Ms. Cooper. When we look at everything that had happened and then to get nervous and say, well, let's blame it on the family because they didn't have working smoke detectors. People don't know that we are now in Fire Safety Month, October, to check your batteries. People don't do that. How many people did that? They don't know that. So when people don't have a smoke detector or working smoke detectors, we don't blame the families when they lost children. We reach out to them, we give them our condolences and say, hey, as a public official, I'm going to do my very best to find out what's wrong so that you can have a closure to it. This family deserves closure. She hasn't received it. We're still hiding. The mayor and Attorney Kim working together talking about, well, he has attorney privilege client or whatever. I ain't never heard of an attorney, city attorney having attorney privilege, whatever. No, you're a public official. And Mr. I'm not angry at you because you have always been fair. You are getting all this fall on you in HR decisions that you know in your time and your experience. You have not seen it. It is, you don't have to speak to, but I'm sorry that you had to, but I'm sorry to this family more than anything else because those firefighters who were trained did not even follow their own training, nor did we follow the recommendation by our valued Fire Chief Ray Barton. We didn't even follow that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, before I move to adjourn, Mayor.
Let me see if there's any other council
Well, I
persons.
know what they might do. Mayor, real quick.
I think she wants to
I
speak.
want to adjourn if she, but real quick, Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman Mays.
Mr. Smith, and to the public, is 2 incidents that we know of. We spent valuable council time in order to try to talk about these 2 incidents. We know, and you know, ain't but one person overriding these department heads, whether it's Attorney Kim, Chief Barton, the Chief of Police, and they giving orders in the middle of an election. This community deserves to know, these families deserve to be taken care of, and I'm glad God blessed us to talk about it. Something ain't right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Mays.
Madam Chair,
Councilwoman Priestley.
you know, I went and visited the Fire Station 5 in my ward, and this tragedy came up in our discussion, and the firefighters wanted to know why there wasn't an independent investigation involved in this. It was an internal one, and they felt in every other instance it should have been an external, independent examination and investigation, and I think that's what we need to demand, that that happens, rather than remain on an internal investigation.
Do you want to make that referral?
I'd like to make
and-
that referral, that we have an independent investigation over this instance, because I can't, never having been a mother, I can't imagine the pain that that woman is going through. It breaks my heart just watching her read it. And I know she had to read it because she couldn't say it otherwise.
Point of information. Who do you suggest the independent investigation is? The state police, the Attorney General's office, or what?
There are agencies who are independent who do this kind of fire investigation all the time, and I suggest that I don't know which one would be best. It was not said to me. It wasn't just said an independent investigation by the firefighters in the station that I spoke, when I spoke to them. So anyways, as I was saying, the pain that this woman is going through and her family is just, I'm very lucky I haven't lost a sister yet. I've lost my parents. I haven't lost any sisters. I haven't lost any great nieces. I've not lost any cousins. I am very lucky. I can't imagine. Thank you.
Thank you,
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Priestley. Councilman Mays.
Yeah, see, the fire investigation is one thing, but the cover-up, if it is a cover-up in the Flint Police Department or
Hold
the
on,
fire
Councilman Mays.
department.
Mr. Smith, I think you can be seated. Anyone?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can-
I'm concerned about
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
the orders that's being given from the mayor's office to these department heads. We're seeing orders given, in my opinion, from finance to legal, Attorney Kim trying to keep his job, Whittick and them trying to keep their job, and they doing it by not talking. When she asked for an independent investigation, when they covered up the deputy chief of staff attacking me, and the state police did an independent investigation and asked Mr. Layton to issue a warrant, it's still laying there. So it concerns me when the politics stretch from the mayor's office to the prosecutor's office and police department. That's why I asked, are you talking about an independent investigation different from Flint Police and Fire? Are you talking about state police investigation? Are you talking about Attorney General? If we gonna send communications and if we gonna have these type of allegations and knowledge, and believe me, the allegations is there that Mr. Neely is giving these department head orders and saying not till after the election. That's problematic for me because I don't want city attorneys, police departments, and fire folks covering up for the next 2-3 weeks, and then we got to live with that type of corruption for the next 4 years. So I'm all in favor of Ms. Priestley's recommendation for independent investigations. The question is who, when, how, and where, and do we get 5 votes? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mays. Any other discussion on this special order?
I know that Councilman Priestley made a referral. I would prefer if we vote on that.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that we do all things necessary to hire an independent firm to investigate this incident.
Support.
A motion has been made and supported that we do an independent investigation on the fire on Pulaski Street. Any discussion, Councilman Mays?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I would like an independent investigation, not just on the fire, but all these orders and protocols that's contradicting each other. I don't know if that's the intent of my colleagues or is that a separate motion, but it ain't just the fire. It's the police matter as well. And if I have to amend it to that and see what folks do or take them one at a time, but I'm not going to treat one different than the other when the allegations of orders to not do something or not let some information out because of a political election is what's looming high.
Councilman Mays, would you like to amend the motion to include the police?
I thought that was, yeah, I would move to amend it to include both of them, independent investigations at this time, and I so move.
Okay. Do we have support?
Could I hear the motion restated, please? Just so I know what I'm voting on.
The motion that he placed on the floor is to amend it to add the police situation with the police chase and all. Do I have support on the amended motion? The amended motion failed.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
And that's fine. We'll take it one step at a time, but this ain't an investigation of the fire. If their intent is that, my intent is the investigation of all the protocols and all of that type of thing. Because I don't think we'll get the votes to put folk up under order, 5 folks from here. I mean, put them up under oath and subpoena. I don't even know if investigations would allow it. But in most cases, when it's problems, they ship it out to an independent investigator. And that ain't happening here so far, what I'm hearing, in either the fire or the police matter. And I'm also hearing that the mayor is overriding department heads, clearly saying, it'll make me lose an election, don't let it get out. That's what I'm concerned about. The fire has been investigated, in my opinion, so I'll vote if it includes that. And so I'm gonna vote anyway to see if we got 5 members here and 5 members. I'm ready to vote.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilman Pfeiffer.
So, Mr. Mays, I didn't second your amendment because I believe that the fire investigation has concluded, and with the other stuff not being out and available, I think we have to wait for that before we can make an independent decision on the police matter. I will say, however, that the intent of my motion is to investigate the the workings of the fire department and the processes, and more importantly, the processes after the fire, to get to the bottom of that and who made decisions, when, where, and how. That's the intent of my motion that I made. So it's obviously the fire investigation was concluded that it was electrical fire. I think that that's not in dispute. It's the actions that happened by our internal staff and whatever happened afterwards is what I want an investigation.
Okay,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
okay. Janelle, did you get that? Any other discussion on that motion?
In the first round?
In the first round, any more discussion in the first round? Second round,
Madam Chair?
yes.
Through you to Chief Barton. Chief Barton, can you come up, please?
Councilwoman.
Chief Barton, I know that, I appreciate you coming back up. I'm sure
Right.
you
Yeah,
heard,
no problem.
you heard all the discussions and what's going on tonight. Can you provide any clarity? I know this is a sensitive topic. Can you provide any clarity on what changed after your recommendation to terminate the 2 firefighters to why one of them, or one was given the opportunity to resign and the other one is still employed? Can you kind of enlighten on the transparency on what
Yeah.
happened to why one of them is still employed?
Well, like I said, under my recommendation, like I said, prior to when everything first happened, I had a recommendation to terminate. Well, in the beginning, before that, my recommendation was to terminate, and then through advisement, they say, was suspend pending investigation.
Advisement from who?
It was a group of myself, the attorney, Kim, who's not here, and maybe Balzer and Clyde and Eddie. We sit in a room because it was information, and it was that you would, prior to the investigation, they suspend them without pay. At that point, I actually went to Arkansas for a funeral, and I was in Arkansas for a funeral. I received a call from Director HR Eddie Smith and said the situation, the suspension without pay had been changed to suspension with pay. And like I said, I'm at a funeral, so I'm like, man, I'm down here. Basically, it was my father remarried, and his mother-in-law, that the lady was like a grandmother to me. She had passed, so I went to that funeral. So it was basically like I'm burying my grandmother. And so when they called and said it was going to be changed to suspension with pay, I'm like, okay. You know, I'm at a funeral that was in Arkansas.
So do you know who made that?
I don't know. I just was informed by the director of HR that the suspension was changed to suspension with pay pending the investigation.
Point of information. Through you to
Mr. Mays, what's your point?
Through you to the speaker, do you know whether or not anybody else was being talked to and advised with other than Attorney Kim, yourself, and Mr. Smith? Do you know if any executives or any mayor? You don't know?
No, I don't know.
It could have been.
When it got changed, I don't say it could have been. I don't know.
But it could have been.
I was in Arkansas. I was in Arkansas.
All right.
And I got a call, and that's what I was told. And then when we got back and we did, and further in the investigation, we did an investigation, and the one guy, as you said, resigned. The other guy, given in light of anybody that's read the report, information has been FOIA. When they entered the room where the 2 kids were found, the one guy went to the right, the other guy went to the left. Where the kids was actually located was on the left. So the guy that went to the left was a sergeant. So basically, he was an officer on the scene. The other guy was a firefighter, which is up under the ranking officer. They met somewhere in this room, and the officer, the one that resigned, stated that side was clear. So taking that information, that's why it went to the young man that was in the room. that is still here was suspended. At that point, then he was suspended without pay for a few weeks. When he came back, he had to be retrained on search and rescue, and that's why he was still here. But the change was still determined, like I said, the outcome, but that's where that part of it changed.
So just recap. So you're saying that they went upstairs, one went to the left, one went to the right.
Right, when you search in the room, you're taught to make contact with
Right.
a wall. So when you go in that room, you make contact, and the person follow around, and you meet around. So stay in contact and filling in the middle, filling for.
So one went to the left, one went to the right.
Correctly.
The one that went to the right, the children weren't in the room. The one that went to the left, that's where the children were.
Right, they were in the
That-
same room.
That firefighter is the one that quit?
That's the firefighter that resigned, yes.
And do we know, I mean, I would hate to think that we gave him a recommendation and he's working at a different fire department.
No, he didn't get a recommendation from me, absolutely not.
Okay.
Because, like I said, going forward, when I'm trying to figure out and doing an investigation, the way things had in the report was wrote, and I'm like, if you did everything in this report, there's no way you missed these children. And so that's why they were disciplined for submitting a false report. Because it was.
So, just quick question to follow up. Are you okay with your opinion being changed?
It's not my decision. Like I said, when the decision was made, like I say, the one guy given the incident and where they said things happened, that could be possible. You have a superior officer that checked this side and he tell you it's all clear, they came back out.
So a decision was made above your, not to say pay grade, to let the chips fall where they currently are today. Is that a true
The
statement?
suspension, yes.
Does, by you getting overridden or overruled, what did that do to the morale of the other officers or the other firefighters that want accountability, that do a good job? That is there any? I know that there's got to be talk.
It's split the department. Let's say it for what it is. It's split the department.
It's split the department.
Yes.
Once again, thank you for coming up. I appreciate your honesty. I'm sure my colleagues have other questions. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilman Mays.
you know, I'm going to stick with my vote as it relates to this independent investigation. Whether it's Mr. Smith, whether it's Chief Barton, whether it's Attorney Kim, in my opinion, particularly with Attorney Kim, I've seen it during the proceedings of his appointment when Angela Wheeler left. He was given a higher salary than her. He gave this council, in my opinion, wrong information on how to remove a president for his own benefit. That's in the Court of Appeals as we speak. I smell some rats. And so I don't care what nobody say. I know in this arena who can change and do orders over chiefs of police and chiefs in fire. I know who can change and do orders as it relates to department heads, human resources. I know. And I know the allegations that I've heard, and I've heard the person named. It's Neely. And if everybody in the city of Flint is scared to say it, I'm alleging it's Neely. That's what my investigation reveals. And that's bad. That a person can be so self-centered trying to win a political election that we have to ask for independent investigations, put folk under oath, the penalty of perjury, to get to the truth. But I'm up for it. I'm finna vote yes. I want to see who the independent investigator's gonna be. I want to see if people are gonna get put under oath, and I'm gonna see if it leads to where I'm hearing. Neely. People just don't change these orders of department heads. Before the chief walked in here tonight, these stories and the allegations match up. You don't have to keep beating a dead horse. I'm ready to vote.
Any other
Madam Chair.
discussion? Yes, Councilwoman Burns.
Chief, don't go anywhere, please. Mr. Smith, could you come to the podium, please? Can you hear me, Mr. Smith?
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Be excused, but you're ready to vote. Yeah, everybody know what's going on. I'm gonna do that.
I got to, since we both are here and well, both of you are here, maybe this will help. Maybe that's better. So Chief Barton stated he didn't have his change. Someone had to contact you. Who contacted you and stated that it needed to be changed?
I got a call from our legal department.
So you got it from Attorney Kim?
Yes.
So Attorney Kim sent, was it an email? Was it
No. Just
written verbal?
Just a discussion.
So is it normal in this type of situation to have a verbal discussion and not have it written?
It is.
It is.
It is.
To override the chief's recommendation.
Well, I mean, to override the chief's recommendation, but to say we're going in a different direction, so it's not unusual.
So in these talks of a different direction, this is really not a, this is terrible.
It is.
This is terrible. So we're taking a person who, the chief who, and we're not taught, his job requires a skill set, constant training, making sure that these firefighters, as long as himself, that they're certified. And someone who made a decision to keep 2 firefighters on, who is not a firefighter, to keep them on, who has not been through any training, that shouldn't have been done. We're breaking our own policies here.
Okay.
I mean, when the chief gives a recommendation, that's his job. That's just like the police chief. I mean, they've had to fire some people through internal affairs and investigations, but someone overrode the chief's decision? I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
I have never heard of that. And it shouldn't slide. It definitely shouldn't slide, you know, in a verbal conversation, and Attorney Kim telling me, and I had some words with him at the elevator where he tried to tell me he had, you know, what he tells the mayor and decisions, he has basically attorney-client privilege. And I told him, you absolutely do not have that. Get a personal attorney. You work for the city. That I got a problem with that. So, who found the children, Chief Barton?
It was a firefighter at the time. He's currently a provisional sergeant, Lawrence Edward, and Lieutenant Fred Presswood.
So two firefighters found the children.
Yes.
So when they found the children, was the first rig still on site that did not find the
All
children?
rigs were still on site.
So all of the rigs, how many rigs did you have at the site?
4. Because
So
once
you
they
have-
came in, well, it was 3. They initially dispatched 3. Then when they came in as possible entrapment, they sent a 4th pump. And then after the people came out and said it was all clear, they canceled the 4th pump. It hadn't arrived. All of this is in the report. And then once they found the first child, then they requested the 4th pump again. So at that time, it could have been 4, but it was still the original 3 that arrived in the first place were still on scene. Well, it was actually 5 trucks. It was 3 fire trucks and 2 squads on scene at that time. And so the 4th pump was on, I'm not sure when it arrived, but it had got canceled, so it turned around, and then when they found the first child, they were called to respond. So they ended up going back. So I don't know if they made it back to 1 or whatever, but they responded back to the scene. But it was still originally, the original 3 trucks that was on scene, 3 fire trucks and the 2 pumps that were on scene.
How long does it take for a person to die in a fire of smoke inhalation?
That's hard to say because, you know, everybody breathes at different rates and things like that. But studies show 4 to 5 minutes without oxygen. 4 to 5 minutes without oxygen, you can have irreparable brain damage. But saying somebody, that all depends on age, condition of a person, if they have respiratory issues and all that. So it's no determining factor that's saying how long it goes. But they give an estimate of 4 to 5 minutes without oxygen, you can have irreparable brain damage.
So when the call first went out, what is the time lapse from when 911 received the call, the number of the minutes, and to where that first rig got there, first fire truck got there?
I'm actually not really, like, I don't remember all the numbers and times, but the guys, it was Saturday, it was on a Saturday, so on Saturdays in the fire department, that's the day you do lawn. So firefighters cut their own grass and stuff like that. So they were outside of Station 6 cutting the grass when the residents walked by and looked at the sergeant and was like, "You don't see that?" And he couldn't see it because he was more to the west of the station. So they walked down toward the end of the ramp. He saw the smoke coming out the house. So they initially started getting dressed, and they called 911 and say, "I need a response to Pulaski, and just east of DuPont Street, the 600 block of Pulaski." So it wasn't a normal where somebody called 911 and they get the response. It was like a resident walked over to him and said, "Y'all don't see that." And so when he walked and seen it, they initially responded and they called 911. So in between all of that, they started heading over to the scene itself. So all the minutes and stuff like that, I'm not saying the exact minutes and times. I couldn't just quote that.
So this one was an electrical fire. Electrical fires can burn very quickly and burn down a structure. It's not the same as I left some food on the stove cooking. So, and I want to say, I don't know, I don't have the report up, but I thought it was almost like maybe up to 20 minutes. That, you know, from that first time that, well, when someone was notified that they needed extra, well, the call went out, that there was a fire. Was it like 15, 16, but you don't?
No, it wasn't that. It was a matter of minutes. It
Minutes
wasn't
where they got there.
because, like I say, they got told, and so they, like I say, it was at 637 West Pulaski, and they responded from Pearson and DuPont. So it was, they could have walked there in 15 minutes. No, it was a couple of minutes. It wasn't that amount of time that had passed by.
So it was just basic. So when we look at it, when you're trained to do the all-clear search in the home, in your report, and I've read it, it appears, I mean, you couldn't have missed them. And if they did what they said they did on that report,
Yes,
they would have found the children.
that's the way I felt. Yes.
Thank you, Chief Barton.
Any other discussion in the second round? Thank you, Chief Barton.
No problem.
Since there's no more discussion, we are ready for the vote to have an independent investigation. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mays.
Yes.
Excuse me. Go ahead, Clerk.
Ms. Lewis is absent. Mr. Murphy is absent. Ms. Priestley.
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter.
Yes.
Ms. Burns.
Yes.
Ms. Herkenroder is absent. Mr. Pfeiffer.
Yes.
Ms. Worthing is absent. Vote is 5 yes, 0 no.
Madam Chair, did you call the vote yet?
The vote is 5 to 0.
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Yes,
I'd like
Councilman
to
Mays.
move that we adjourn governmental